Hey everybody, welcome back to Student Connection. Today, just gonna kind of continue with our summer. I know summers are really busy, and people have been traveling a lot, doing vacations, doing camps, and doing ball and everything that comes with all of it. And so, if you've been watching with us this summer, we've kind of been hit and miss. I've been out some. I was out last week, and that's why we didn't have a video. But this week, want to kind of pick up kind of jumping off and talking a little bit about where I was. If you know me or been around me, you've heard me talk about Camp Happy Days. Camp Happy Days is a camp I've been involved with since I was a junior in high school. And the more I think about it and have thought about it and talk about it with people, it's evident that to see how one, God never changes. We've discussed that this summer already about how he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's one constant theme you can see running through not only the ministry that's done there, but any ministry that we see, whether it's at the local church or it's inside the walls there, whether we have people who have ministered and taught Sunday school for years or served in the nursery or any kind of ministry we think of when it revolves around the local church. But also comes the camp ministry. We touched on that a couple weeks back about camp hype and kind of being on a camp high coming back, and you've had a great time. You're away, you're out of your element. You can focus on Jesus and how that's kind of become something in church life anyway that's people talk about and connect with, and that's what they always look forward to going to camp. And I love camp ministry. And that feeds into my love for Camp Happy Days, but also just ministry that we do and people that are devoted to it. I know people that their ministry might be to single parents or might be to pouring in and encouraging college students, and they've done that for years. And it's not a paid position. It's not something they're on staff anywhere to do, but the Lord's convicted them of that's a way they can minister and a way they can encourage people, and they continue to do it. So when I say that, how the Lord will use things for lengths of time, use you in ministry for lengths of time, it's not necessarily a staff position or what you think of as a career. So for me, being gone last week to Camp Happy Days, fortunately, I'm in a position now of being a student pastor that I can bring students to come and to serve at camp. I'm grateful for that. I shared on Facebook last week after we got back from camp that my youth pastor had taken a group of us the summer of 1998 to go and to serve at this camp, and we really didn't know what we were doing. He would tell you today he literally tried to scare us out of going because he wanted to see where, one, how we were committed, but two, this is going to be more different than any ministry we'd done. And he was right. And we got to go and we got to serve kids that were connected to each other through DHR. Like that's why they were at camp. That was the common thread. And we were able to go and serve, and it was tough. It was hilly, and we walked everywhere, and it was 100 degrees, and it's going to rain a couple times a week. And then after it rains, it gets really humid. And I remember telling campers this year, I was like, the worship where we had worship then, it wasn't air conditioned, and you were required to wear like Sunday clothes, and we had jeans, which they let us wear jeans, fortunately, and like button front shirts. That's what we had to wear to worship every night. And it was miserable as far as from the physical aspect of it, of you're hot already. And all this. So there's all these elements of camp, but in having these conversations like that, and like the food that we've had at camp and how we've seen renovations over the years and how they've been beneficial to the Lord because we've been able to minister to more kids effectively. And we're not the only place that uses those facilities, but for this video, just kind of talk about that and hone in on that. And so for me, for Camp Happy Days, it's been a special time, and been able to look at it over the years, starting as a 17-year-old kid, and now 25 years later, I'll let you do the math, being able to look and see how the Lord has been faithful And that's something for me that continues to come up. But the passage of scripture that hit me today, as I knew I was going to talk about this, but hit me today. That's so true. I think we tend to overlook it sometimes because it's part of the Great Commission, and it doesn't lose its value or its power because it is scripture. It is God's spoken word, but it gets latched on to the Great Commission sometimes, and we don't always overlook it. But I think we have a tendency to sometimes. I know I have before, but it popped in my mind today. But it's out of Matthew 28, verse 20, and it's right there at the end of the Great Commission where he talks about teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you. And the last part of that verse says, "Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age." And that just hit me because I got to thinking throughout the years and having conversations this past week about camp, because everybody asked, "Hey, how'd everything go?" We had X amount of kids, and we had so many decisions for Christ that were made. And being where I am now, being able to take students that can go and serve and can go and lead in cabins and have the opportunity to one-on-one share Christ with kids and campers that come. I'm grateful to do that. That's where I first got to really share my faith with a camper there back that summer, and I'm grateful for that. But I got to thinking about how God is always with us, no matter what happens. There's been years we go to camp and we had 100 register. We might have 60 show up, and we're calling and we're tracking down where people are, whether they're sick or hey, something came up, or they just weren't able to make it. But from year to year, it seemed like, hey, it's like a roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster going up and down. And but we continue to strive to serve in the best way that we can. And we have to remember that no matter where we go as believers, that God is with us, even to the end of the age. No matter how long we are where we are, whether it's serving at a camp for 25 years or serving a church for 10 years or 20 years or your whole career, or whether he has you working at a bank and that's where you work and you retire there, or whether you're a teacher or a doctor. Students, as you think about this and think about what you want to do something that you can serve the Lord through. Let that be your guide when you're looking at a career path. Ask yourself the question, how can I serve the Lord as I do this? Let that be a deciding factor, not just, well, what does it pay? Or, hey, I can do this because my parents have done this and I kind of know what to do. That might be a deciding factor, but let one of your main questions be, how can I serve the Lord as I do this? And don't veer away from that question. Don't let it scare you, because he reminds us here in Matthew 28:20 that he is with us. You can even back it up to verse 19 where we're to go and to make disciples of all nations. And that word goes as you are going, as we are doing life together with other believers, as we are working with non-believers, as we're in school with non-believers, as we are going, God has us there for a reason. And if you're one of my students, you hear me say this all the time. He has you where you're planted for a reason, and he's with you always. So let us remember that. Let us hold fast to that. And if the Lord keeps you somewhere for a long period of time, let me encourage you to do it well. And I say that because Camp Happy Days, I've got to go and serve for 25 years, from a point of being a student in the student ministry to go and serve as a cabin leader, to be even help now to help plan and kind of direct and lead some of it. I'm grateful for it. Every year I look at it at the end of the summer and thinking, I'm so grateful for it. And if the Lord ever calls me from it, then he calls me from it. But he's been faithful to let me to go and to serve, and he's been there, and he has continued to work each and every year in the lives of those campers that get to come in a life-changing way. They know that their salvation is in the Lord, but also through the cabin leaders, through the directors, through anybody involved, they walk away just seeing the Lord at work and being changed by it. And so whether it is a camp or whether it's every week you walk away from church. And I pray that we could all say this, that we're changed, that we're different than we walked in with. Find a place to plug in and serve. And your plugging in to serve might be at your school, students. It might be at your job, parents. But just remember, as he tells us in the Great Commission, that he is with us. So all timidity should be thrown out the window. All fear should not be there. And I pray that we can all be faithful to be those witnesses, whether it's at camp or at home or at school or at work. We'll be faithful to be witnesses wherever he sends us.